I show 8 o'clock. Actually, I show 8:01.
Okay.
I'm going to put this recording out,
Mhm.
and I want to launch our maiden voyage right. I'm going to kind of
Okay.
intro it. I'm going to tell the purpose of what we're doing in general, the purpose of this one, and then let's just get into it. And so if and when people listen to it a little bit later on, they can be benefited by, okay, that's exactly what they're going to be, how they're going to be doing things, and what they're going to be going over. So this is Connector Circle, mastering the communication skills to connect with others. And we're going to be basing our weekly discussions off of the great book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect by John Maxwell, right? We both got our copy. We got it held up. I got mine tabbed out like a Uber nerd, right? And so we are big fans of John Maxwell. We are also certified Maxwell leadership trainer, speakers, coaches. But at the end of the day, we want this to be normal conversations, normal activities on people pursuing the practice of connecting, right? People pursuing the practice of connecting. I love the practice of law, the practice of medicine, because you're never done with it. You're
It's
always on.
continuous.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. And
continuous. Yep.
so it's just going to be a group of people pursuing the practice of connection. And we're going to do that through planned conversations and then learning more and more about the book. So let me brag on Joe for about thirty minutes so you can get to know him a little bit better. Joe is a retired Army veteran. Joe is educated, master's degree in human resources development from Webster University in 2016, a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Human Resources Management in 2014. He's a certified Maxwell DISC trainer, career coach certificate in 2021, proposal development, VA transitions, Veterans Administration Transition Benefits Advisor certification. He's been an adjunct faculty with Webster University, and I know Joe personally. I've seen him in action. He is an unbelievable connector, an unbelievable encourager, and he always makes rooms in interactions for people to reveal their triumphs and their goals and their history. So, Joe Vigil, I am honored to be on this journey with you.
No, sir. The honor is mine, man. I know. Now, talk about connection. You and I connected last year at one of your events, man. You invited me in to allow me to observe and somewhat participate, and it was phenomenal
Mm.
for a marriage connect. And man, it was awesome. But now it's my turn to brag on you, brother, because man, thank you for your service. You're an Army veteran yourself, air traffic controller. You've trained close to 100 air traffic controllers
Yes, sir.
throughout your career, right? And that I know that was no simple task giving that job that you had. I mean, that was pretty stressful. I remember back in the 80s when the air traffic controllers went on strike. But I know you did not have an easy task, but rewarding nonetheless. And thank you for your service again. And dude, you got some credentials too, man. These things are awesome. Harvard Business School certification of specialization in leadership and management in 2024. Harvard Business School certificate of negotiation mastery in 24 as well. Harvard Business School organizational leadership in 23. Uh, Harvard Business School certificate of leadership principles. Man, you are Harvard bound, brother. I mean, in more ways than one. Not to mention Maxwell Disc behavioral analysis trainer and consultant in 2022. And Bryan, one of the other things I noticed on your bio was, man, dude, you're a Jedi trainer. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I like Star Wars, but I'm a Star Trek guy. Now, I like Star Wars, but man, the Jedi trainer, man, that's an awesome program. Can you just give us a few things about that?
Yeah, I was honored to be a part of this program and then started kind of steering, being one of the co-pilots. JEDI stands for Junior Executive Development Initiative at
Mhm.
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Oh yeah.
And the purpose of the program was to build the garrison's bench of future leaders.
Mhm.
In any organization, you need to be training your replacements and then training and duplicating skill sets. So if one of you
Yeah.
is gone or retired, the other one's ready to step up and step into that role. And so it
Yes.
was a year-long program, and it came in different phases: self-awareness, team development, organizational improvement, assessments, training, assignments, all of those things. And so, yeah, that was the Junior Executive Development Initiative. I loved being a part of that. I still talk to a lot of the graduates, and yeah, it got deemed one of the Army's best practices whenever it was evaluated by higher headquarters. So, yep, that was Jedi program.
It's awesome, man. I mean, I love that. I just even love the acronym JEDI and also what it stands for. But also, dude, you've done your own curriculum development as well and put it out on Udemy.
Yes. Um,
Tell us, yeah.
I've I got invited to. I was teaching classes Army wide, and I got invited to be a part of a working group that built a learning path for people in the workforce development career field. And so Udemy is partnered with the Army, and they gave us basically the rundown. You can build your own learning path for workforce development people. So we picked the courses, we evaluated the skills that they were going to need, the things that they were going to need to develop and improve in their career. And I was a part
Right.
of that working group with people from all over the country. And so I'm proud to have developed that and other courses as well.
So cool. Now I got a surprise for you as well. So 10 plus, the green wristbands, okay?
Mhm.
Bam. All
Oh,
right.
I love it.
It was sitting on my dresser, and I looked at it last night, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna wear this because Brian invited me to one of his events, and he handed this to me like not even 5 minutes after I was in the door. And I remember that he said, "Joe, put this on, man. It's 10 plus. Be the good. This is what Team Builders Academy stands for." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." So every now and then I got it on. But
Well,
speaking
that's
of Team
awesome.
Builders Academy, please let the audience know what Team Builders Academy is.
So Team Builders Academy is the company that I started, um, dedicated to helping leaders connect, inspire, and win with their respective teams.
Right.
Every leader, like, or 95% of leaders want to have a positive impact on their respective teams, but they're so busy with the primary and secondary tasks of their role, budget,
Yeah.
staffing, handling problems day to day, that they can't really address a problem that they know they're really having. So, Team Builders Academy does exactly that, from training to assessments to coaching. We train staff, we train and develop leaders as well. And we just are a custom, ready made team of people who can handle the connection, the inspiration, and the measurable wins of a team. We reduce retention. I'm sorry, we reduce turnover. We increase retention. We train people to predict behavior, increase connection, and really just help their team. So that's what we do in a nutshell. And you help us do that as well. As a part of Team Builders Academy, I work with a lot of rural school districts, businesses, banks, entire military bases, and I'm happy.
Stuff, dude. Awesome stuff.
Yeah,
And again, thank you for having me on today, man. It's just an honor to connect with you, no pun intended, or maybe
yeah,
so.
yeah.
It's an honor to connect with you.
So speaking of connecting, let's get into the first principle of
Mhm.
this book. The first principle that we're going to be covering in this meeting.
Yes.
Connecting is a skill.
Mhm.
Okay? That's the first principle that we're gonna discuss. Oh yeah, I got my Saturday morning coffee as well. Look, man, look,
Got to,
gotta
brother.
gotta
Got to.
have it. Gotta have it. When I got up and my wife had already had the cup brewed, I'm like, I love you, girl. So connecting is a skill. It's not just about personality or height or voice. It can be learned and developed. Tell me what you think about that statement.
Connecting is a skill, just like anything. And you mentioned in the intros about a practice of communication and connecting. And you gave the example of practicing law and medicine and everything. It is a skill set. Connecting is a skill set. I've seen on job announcements you have to must be a good communicator.
Mm,
I've never seen on a job announcement. Maybe I need to post that on my job announcements that I advertise. Must be a great connector in addition to being a great communicator.
brilliant.
Because we deal with clients and all the time. I mean, even you've seen that in the military. We've had great leaders. They were good leaders, but they may have been not so good at communicating
Mm,
in certain things, but they were good technical leaders. They knew the technical aspects of their MOSs or their job skills.
hmm
But when it came to the connecting part, there was no, there was really no interaction. Here's the task, go do it. You any questions, give me a call. Come see me, stop by my office.
Mm,
And back in the day, that those were the only times that, sometimes you would see your leader other than your squad leader, maybe your platoon sergeant or something like that. But that's a great statement, what you just said. And the connecting part is so essential in leadership that if we're not connecting, how can we lead?
mm,
The connecting part is just one of those things. I like kind of like what Warren Buffett said when he talked about his education early on in life. He said he saw an advertisement for the Dale Carnegie course about communicating. And he said when he attended that course, that was the best course he ever invested in. That was his biggest investment in himself, was attending the Dale Carnegie course when it came to presentation skills and communication skills. Therefore, he was able to connect with whomever he spoke to. So
mm.
I think when it came to like Warren Buffett attending that, it laid out the platform for the rest of his life. Brilliant guy,
Yeah.
when it comes to his field. But I think that was probably that got the momentum going, in my opinion, for him.
I love the fact that it says connecting is a skill
Mhm.
because it's something that we can work on, as you said, and it's something that we can focus on. I got to admit, I sometimes my interaction with people is transactional rather than connective.
Ooh.
And so I'm not working on that skill. I'm working on, not a good skill. And then you do run into leaders where they're accomplished, they have accolades, but they're disconnected. And so I'm happy about the fact that connection is a skill. It is a skill that if you do certain things in a conversation, they will absolutely work, right? And so what we'll do over the course of these meetings is we will tease out the things that you need to do in your interactions to have them be connective interactions rather than transactional or just total misses, like just total misses, right? What's the next principle there, Joe?
The next one, let me focus my eyes here. Okay, focus on others.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, when it comes to connecting, we do have to focus on others. We kind of alluded that a moment ago, and now I'd like to segue into this. Genuine connection shifts the focus from oneself to the other person. And again, we mentioned that. Like, I'm going to use this as an example. And I want you to weigh in on this too. You've been to a concert, right?
Yes, sir.
So, in the auditorium, the stadium, wherever it is, in the audience portion is kind of dark, and the spotlight is on the performer, okay, the singer, comedian, whomever, okay, but you paid money to see that performer, right? So you want your money's worth. But as a speaker, as a coach, as a trainer, as one that's trying to get people to learn how to connect through communication and leadership, that focus has to be on the other person. I kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
way John Maxwell says this as well in one of his books. He says, when I speak and I'm on the stage, I don't want the whole spotlight to be on me. I want it to be on the audience so I can see their reaction, so I can kind of indicate maybe what they're thinking. So the connecting part, he's connecting with them one on one and getting the focus on them
Mm-hmm.
because they paid to come see him. So he wants them to get their money's worth. What do you think?
So I think if you approach every conversation with that visualization in mind, Joe, I think you just shared some gold. What if we approached every conversation with the operating question, how
Mhm.
can I make them the star of the show with the spotlight on what's important to them?
Mhm. And,
Think about just that approach alone
mhm.
changes just about every interaction.
You know, I love the way you said that, brother, because like when you meet somebody, hey, how you doing? I'm Joe. You're shaking hands, right?
Hmm.
And we ask, what do you do? And they go immediately into their profession, what they do for a living. They coach little league soccer, what have you, right? Those things are cool, but no, dude, tell me a little bit more about you. So I'm kind of off the hook at this point because now I'm learning about somebody else.
Yes.
And the people like, and I hate to say, people like to kind of like talk about themselves a little bit. Sometimes some folks talk a little bit more about themselves than others. But I think I'm an inquisitive person. I'm very curious. So I'm always asking questions about the other person. How did you get that job? What do you like about it? How long have you been doing this? I mean, what do you think about, when you're not working about this job, or you just let it go? I'm off the clock. I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But some people thrive in certain environments. So I'm always asking, I'm very inquisitive about that individual, about them, so it kind of takes the spotlight off me, which is great. And I'm asking questions. And then there's that connection thing as well. Oh, like I said about brother, I love the way you just said that. You just meant Joe, you just laid out some gold for us. So there's that affirmation to the person you just met as well. Oh, dude, that was brilliant, man. You mind if I use that?
Yeah. Right.
You
For
you
sure.
just made a connection, right?
Yes. For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And and you took great care to use an analogy that I can understand. Right. And I don't want to talk over people's heads. If
Yes.
people, if the only thing people remember from me is my resume, I have failed in that interaction.
Hmm.
Or if the only thing people remember from me is some random detail on my business card, I have failed in that interaction to connect with them. F at this
Oh,
station,
yeah.
no go at this station, right? Because who cares?
Yeah.
But if they feel like, man, Joe made me the star of that interaction at moments, that is important. My values, my history, my goals, my triumphs, something about he made a moment of our interaction in his life. He
Yes.
put me on the stage and made me the star of the show. And I think that's important. I just tell people whenever I introduce people, I just tell them how I can help people. And then
Hmm.
I get to asking those connective questions, man.
Um,
They'll learn more about me as we trade pieces of connection. But yes, connection focuses on others. Now, Joe, I think, or let me just ask this question. Where do you think people might struggle in this area if a principle of connection is focusing on others? Where do you think the struggle might be?
it goes back to what you mentioned earlier, okay? In terms of it's a practice.
Hmm.
If you're not practicing it, and if you're not practicing it without knowing it, then you're gonna fail every time. You're gonna like kind of stumble. It's gonna come full circle back to you, and then you're gonna put the spotlight on yourself because there may be one thing that that person said that resonates with you about your work history, about one of your accolades, your degree, an event that you attended. Oh yeah, I did that. I was this. I had this individual. We excelled here, and he failed there, and then it came back. No, no, take it off you, and put it back on the other person. Not that you're doing an interrogation or an investigation, but you should be genuinely inquisitive about what this person is about.
Right. 100%.
Like, like you said, you connect with people by saying, "Hey, this is what I do. This is how I help people."
Hmm.
And in essence, really, you're helping people and you're helping yourself by practicing that skill set of connecting by asking more questions.
Right.
But they got to be genuine. You got to have a little bit of enthusiasm, not like over the top type enthusiasm. Oh man, that was real. Can
Hmm.
you tell me that again?
Hmm. Yeah. And so I never go over a long list of accolades.
Yeah.
Whenever people say, "Oh, what do you do?" Well, me and my team help people predict behavior,
Mhm.
reduce conflict, and increase retention.
So
That's
you
all.
got two different ends of the spectrum: reduce and increase.
Yes, that's
So
all
it's
I say.
kind of going like that. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
And the only thing we did was, okay, what do people want? And now let's
Mhm.
talk to them in that way. So the third one, authenticity matters.
Yes.
The third one, authenticity matters. People connect with real and genuine individuals, right? People connect with real and genuine individuals. If I am, um, if I am too standoffish, too closed off, or too arrogant,
Oh.
to
Say that again. Say the last part again.
standoffish, too closed off, or too arrogant
Yes,
in my
yes.
interactions, or I'm too like instant, like micro, like, hey, my name is Brian. Can you help me? No, okay, I'm going to the next person. Like too, like people are rentals rather than purchases. I,
Yeah.
I I'm gonna reek of inauthenticity. But if I am focused on them and what they are bringing to this interaction, and not even putting on airs, like, look, dude, I don't know all things. I just know a couple things.
Right.
Like, true, I know a few things well. Everything else, don't. don't
Mhm.
yeah, this is who I really am. I
Yeah.
think that really helps people connect with real and genuine individuals. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to let you kind of jump in with what you might want to add to authenticity matters. I had dinner with someone. We kind of had a double date. They came over to our house, and I'm very I think, and I like to share my thoughts and write and stuff like that. And after a couple hours at our house, the guy said, "Joe, this cracked me up." He said, Brian, you're the exact same person in person as you are online. I'm really surprised by that. And so my response was, who else would I be? Look, man,
Would I be?
yeah, life is fast, life is hard, and I don't have that many brain cells to be two different people. So I try to lead with authenticity and care, but I just want people to know like who I am and my strengths and weaknesses so they know I'm a real person. What do you think about authenticity matters?
Well, first of all, I got to go back to the statement, about what the guy said in your responses. Who else would I be?
Yeah.
Pure authenticity personified right there, man. Who else would I be? That's so genuinely authentic, and I can only visualize in my head right now what this guy's facial expression might have been. Good point, Brian. Something like that. But when you connect with people, like you said, on a genuine basis, you said a moment ago when it comes to like all their accolades, or they might be trying to connect with you to be impressive in terms of speaking academically, something like that. And I just that's great. You have a degree, you have a an advanced degree, you have your doctorate, and all. Those things are fine, but break it down to me for
Mm,
me a little bit simpler than this. I'm not a dummy, but at the same time, I like simplification, you know. And
love
when
it.
I was when I was teaching the graduate courses, you're teaching graduate level students, but they have a lot of experience in that field or in that course they're already taking with you, right?
Mhm.
So I realized kind of later than sooner, if I facilitate these discussions based on certain topics in the book, I can go around the room, let them weigh in, let them do all the talking, and let them share their experiences with the other with the other classmates, and that opens up more for discussion, and I can guide the discussion from there.
Mhm.
It was an epiphany that came on, like I said, later than sooner,
Yeah.
but I liked how it happened,
Mhm.
because they got to talking about themselves, they got to talking about problem solving in certain areas. So when it comes to authenticity, how it matters in our lives, and it should, because connecting is about that other person.
Mhm.
And you made it about that with the double date, with you and your wife and this other couple. And that was brilliant. Like the guy said, you're the same. Well, who else
Yeah.
would I be? You
Yeah.
know, and I'm sure he was taken aback by that, because he was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of used that example now in his own life, maybe later
Yeah.
on.
Just be real. Like if you're gonna spend, because if you think about it, if you're not authentic, you are now tasked with the burden of trying to be multiple personas at one time. The fake you that you're presenting and the
Yeah.
real you who you actually are. It's much
Yeah.
more efficient, right? It's much more efficient to be authentic off the bat because now you've only got to one maintain the real person that you are.
That's
And
it.
so
That's
I
it.
tell people once we get to talking, listen, I can pick up patterns. I've been gifted with that ability. I can
Hmm.
speak to people to inspire. I facilitate. I'm a problem solver. I'm a trusted advisor, but here's what I'm not. I struggle with organization.
Mhm.
I struggle with the, I can get you a 90% solution and I need people around me to get to finish the very end of it. And
Right.
so I let them know right off the bat, these are my superhero areas and these are the areas that I'm not good in. It also lets them know, oh, I'm a star in that role. Now I can be the star for him in that role. He's not a master at all things. And he's
Yeah.
just real. Like he let me know where he's not good or where he made a mistake. So it just makes it real.
I gotta throw this out there because since we're talking about authenticity, and I know you've experienced this as we all have in the military. We all had those great leaders that were so good that
Mhm.
if you had any doubt how great they were, all you had to do was ask them, and they'll tell you how great they are. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had those, and it's so fun because they couldn't connect because they were just like, I've achieved this. I'm at this level now. I've done that. I don't think I can go any higher, but I'm gonna try. So they've
Mhm.
made it all about them, taking the spotlight off of their supporters who they were supposed to train, mentor, and coach, do all that great stuff that we did in the Army, and they put all the spotlight on themselves instead of leading their troops. We've all had those leaders
Right.
in one way or another. You kind of brought that segue in for me just now because what happens is that they weren't genuine. Okay, they were not authentic in their leadership. But what I used to do, and I caught this later on in life, I said, if I tell my subordinates about my inconsistencies in life, my screw ups, where I messed up, and how I tried to do a little bit better, it became real because you said just be real about it. And then I realized one day a few of them came up to me and said, Master Vigil, man, you're always talking about where you screwed up, man, how you messed this up and how you tried to fix it. And one of them said, kind of jokingly, but seriously, he was serious about it. He said, did you ever do anything right? I was like, well, I kind of like to think that I did from time to time,
Mhm.
but I said, the reason I'm telling you about my mess ups and screw ups is because there's things I just wasn't good at. And there's going to be things in life as a leader, as a connector, as a communicator, you're not going to be good at. However, you have to hone those skills in
Mhm.
about, again, having the skillful art of connecting. And I believe that goes hand in hand with authenticity.
Yeah. You were
What do you
talking,
think? Yeah.
you were talking and uh you have the ability to when you talk you kind of you give people epiphanies, right? So what I wrote, like I wrote this in the chat of our call, but I'm just going to read it. People can't relate to a perfect persona. They relate to a genuine person in front of them being authentic.
Yes. Yes.
So if I can never reach perfection and the person across from me is presenting themselves as a perfect persona, I can't relate to them.
Oh,
I,
man.
I can't relate to that. I'm not perfect. I don't have my act together.
Mm.
So you go ahead and keep on doing your thing, perfect persona person. I can't
Yeah.
relate to that. Right?
Oh,
I can't. Um, even Jesus wept.
oh, yes.
Even
Ooh.
Jesus had stress. So much
Mm.
stress that blood came out like from stress. That's an actual medical condition. He was an authentic human experiencing the impact of betrayal and stress and knowing what he had to go through. That's
Yeah.
authentic.
Oh,
Yeah,
my.
I
Yeah.
can relate to that. Right? Okay, so
Yes.
I just want people to realize, like, okay, so we're just we are fighting to be authentic and not pretend that we are
Yes.
something that we are not, and people can relate to that, right? Um, so yeah, you gave me that epiphany, and so the fourth principle is what, Joe? Or
Energy is
did you want
contagious.
to go deeper on
Yeah.
authenticity?
If you don't mind, yeah,
Of course.
can we do that? Yeah, I mean, the wheels are spinning up here now. So, which is a good thing for me. But anyway,
I love this, by the way. This is gold.
why didn't we do this sooner? But hey, for such a time as this, brother, for
Hmm.
such a time as this. But yeah,
Hmm.
if you don't mind, man, let's continue with authenticity matters for it. I know you got some things brewing right now with that.
So truly, so then as you present yourself, right? What do people want? What do people want? They want someone who is real, who is there with them in the moment that they can be human with, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Like, aren't those the best? Where it's like, I can be human with you and you're being human with me. And
Mhm.
so it's refreshing. It's like not the like it's not the fake Facebook picture or the fake, like, oh, he's
Yeah.
always got his acting. No, I'm gonna be real. Hey, I'm struggling in this area, or I can really, really help you with this one. But I share your frustrations on, needing to build a team and all this other stuff, sir or ma'am. And so I just, let you know, like I have trouble in this area communicating, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. We can go on a journey together to try to figure that out. But I want to be real with you. Like there's nothing perfect about me, but I'm in the practice of developing in different areas. I just think that's important.
You know, it's cool. One of the things that just came to mind right now is in one of John's books. I don't want to say John Maxwell's books. It was either Developing the Leader Within You or the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And he gave this example about in front of a bunch of C-suite people, CEOs, CFOs, and so anyway, he gives this example about how he messed up at, he was the president of his company. He did this, he said, I screwed this up or whatever, And so during a break, one of the CEOs came up to him. He said, John, I disagree with your statement about you're telling your subordinates how messed up you were in this aspect, and you didn't do that. I'm paraphrasing. You didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. He said
Hmm.
you should never tell your subordinates your weaknesses. And he looked at the guy and he said, "Well, what makes you think they don't already know?"
Right.
Oh, talk about being real and authentic. That was a Maxwellian moment for me, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
you
So,
know,
so Joe, I've been a part of hiring panels, and you recruit and hire people all the time. And if you are an absolute expert in recruiting and retention and stuff like that. One of the fastest things can burn you in an interview that I've seen in real time, and I'm sure you've seen. Go ahead and present yourself like you have no flaws.
oh my God, yeah.
Go ahead and present yourself like you have no weaknesses at all. I just work too hard. I'm just, blah, blah, blah. They're like, nope, your goose is cooked. Right. Because this is someone who reeks of arrogance. The last thing we need is another arrogant individual on our team. This is someone
Right.
who is not going to be teachable because they think they already know it all.
Mhm.
Right. The fastest way to burn that high impact interaction is to approach it with authenticity, not with pretending like you know it all, because no one does. And yeah, you are right. I think you made a great point. If you're a leader, people have seen you. They've
Yeah.
seen how you make decisions. They've seen you over time. They know your flaws. If you
Mhm.
try to lie about it, now not only do you have that flaw, you're leaking credibility and trust.
Oh man, that was you just hit the nail on the proverbial head, so to speak, man. Man, that was awesome. Say it again, man, because
Like
that's got to
so,
resonate.
yeah. So like me. I mean,
Yeah.
I can if you come to me with a problem, I'm gonna think about it, and my little two brain cells are gonna furiously rub together, and then I'm gonna be like, beep boop 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 boop, idea. Now let's start implementing it, right?
Mhm.
But if you're expecting me to be this organized, systematic, blah blah blah, you've known me long enough, Joe. That ain't where my superhero lives, right?
Oh my God,
And
man.
so if I then told you, yeah, I'm excellent at this, you'd be like, Bryan is delusional. He's lying to himself and he's lying to me. Can I trust Bryan?
Man, so I got to weigh in on this part because you said two things, right? Well, we're talking about authenticity, but I'm thinking when I think authenticity, you mentioned the word teachable
Mm,
a moment ago, that this person may not be teachable. And I've been probably praying this part of my prayer every now and then for the same for thing for probably almost 3 decades now. Lord, I want to have a teachable spirit. I
Mm,
want to have a teachable spirit. And that's what the Apostle Paul said to Timothy. I think it's Second Timothy. He said, you got to train these guys. You're training young pastors. You're training other leaders. They got to have a teachable spirit, Timothy. So make sure that you have a teachable spirit as well. I'm kind of paraphrasing. But when it comes to being authentic and teachable, man, you got to have both. If you're not authentic, you can't be teachable.
hmm
If you're vice versa, you got to, man, in my
hmm
opinion.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh man, that was, I mean, you made the light become even brighter for me
Mm,
when you said that, brother.
awesome. So these are
But,
like dangerous conversations. All right, and then
oh man.
the last principle that we wanted to cover. What is it about energy?
Okay, energy is contagious. Now, your enthusiasm and positive attitude influence connection. Now, John mentions this in several of his books. First of all, he says leadership is influence. Everything rises and falls on leadership. If you want to be influential, if you want to be a leader, you got to be influential. We all influence somebody one way or another,
Hmm
whether it's good or bad, positive or negative. But we have to choose this day, what are we going to do? Are we going to be a positive influence? Or are we going to be a negative influence? Not just in the workplace, but what about in our homes?
hmm
As fathers, as husbands, as men, being protectors and providers for our families, being loving fathers to our children and grandchildren, and yet sometimes that disciplinarian as well that none of us like to be.
hmm
But later on in life, we can see how that changes and molds our children and grandchildren, how influential we can be. My son is 36 years old now,
Okay.
and excuse me, he's in the military as well, and an engineer, somewhat like me and his mother. But anyway, uh, he'll say every now and then, he said, I had two parents growing up in my home, two parents.
Mm,
How rare is that nowadays?
right. What a
I didn't
blessing.
have, I mean, tremendous blessing. And he realizes that now. I didn't have that growing up so
Mhm.
much. I mean, my parents got divorced early when I was young. Both of my parents remarried, but there was still a lacking of that paternal positive male role model.
Mhm.
Okay. So when I got married and we had, my wife had, two daughters from her previous marriage, I wanted to be a father to them. And then we had our son that I really had to be, a father. So even more because I was going to help raise this male child, bringing him up in the world.
Right.
So there was that I just had to do it. I just had to, like, what am I going to do? Nobody gives you an instruction manual about how to be a good father. But
Yeah.
how influential was I for him over the
Mhm.
course of his life? And he's told me several times, not to pat me on the back or anything, but he said, Dad, you were a good father. You were there even when I didn't want you to be there. You were always present in my life. Even when
Mm.
I didn't want you to be, you were always present. Now he's a father himself. He and his wife have this beautiful granddaughter. She's 3 years old, and he is just there. That this baby is his heart.
I love that. I absolutely love that because he realized that the presence and energy that you brought to that role as a parent. And that's such a great compliment. Like, who doesn't want that? Like, um, biblically, it says one of the things we all look forward to is when God says, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant."
Oh
Right?
God, yeah,
Enter into this into my presence. Right?
yes, yeah.
Well, as a father, you wanna know that you've done it well,
Mhm.
right? Because that's a big title and a big responsibility. Father,
Yes. Mhm.
life affirming, absolutely big, huge thing. And so he recognized you've dedicated your energy to that, and then you poured so much into him. Now he can pour into his
Yeah.
child, and
Right.
borrow from the model that you established, which is amazing, which is amazing. Um, I think of the word catalyst. I'm going to say this real quick, and then we'll ask one of the operating questions of our meeting. I think of the term catalyst. I really love that term, right?
Yeah.
And catalyst, people don't really use it because cars don't have catalytic converters anymore, newer cars.
Yeah.
But the catalyst is something that causes a reaction in others.
Hmm.
Catalyst is something that causes a reaction in others. And so I'm going to say this, and so I'm going to repeat your principle. Energy is contagious. Your enthusiasm and positive attitude influence connection. So then,
Yeah.
if I know energy is contagious, I've got to be on guard to save some for the person that I'm in front of. I got to bring that. I got to have some power left in my battery, almost like a
Mhm.
cell phone.
Right.
Before you go out or go on a road trip, you need to make sure that thing is charged up for everything you're going to ask it to do while you're doing the thing that you needed to help you with. So if you're
Yes.
driving 4 hours from here and you're going to be using the maps, you better have some charge, because if you're out in the middle of nowhere and your phone dies, you just ran out of energy where you need when it was crucial for you to have it.
Oh, it was crucial. Oh, I
When it was
love it.
crucial for you to have it. So then, if I'm in an interaction and I'm the catalyst, and just like Maxwell said, energy is contagious. Maybe I put down all of the distractions and dedicate my energy and focus to that person in front of me
Yes.
and be present.
And be present. I love the way you just ended that part because we always have to be present in the moment.
Yes, sir.
Now we can plan ahead and do whatever, but we've got to be present in the moment and
Mhm.
taking that energy. Like we may have had a bad day. We may have had just a lousy day. I'll be honest with you. This week for me is just like it was just like one thing after another. It wasn't bad, but at the same time, it was just like, I don't know. It was like I wasn't there I was there,
Mm,
but I just wasn't there, maybe
mm.
mentally or something like that. I can't figure out what it is, and I'm not even trying to. That week
Yeah.
is over.
Okay. I have a
So,
question for you.
yes.
Let me turn these into operating questions.
Mhm.
When was a time that you or someone else's energy in the moment
Yeah.
positively impacted someone else?
Oh man, energy in the moment impacted somebody else. I mean, it's several times, but I can think
Mm,
of one in particular, and it's job related. So I was recruiting for this one company, right?
mhm.
And my numbers were just like going down at a rapid pace
Okay.
for a few months, and it was not looking good, man. And every morning I was like, "Yes, I'm gonna hire, yeah, I'm gonna blah blah blah." It was more like I was working for a staffing agency at this point for
Mm,
another company. That's what it felt like, and it was horrible for me. The company was fine, don't get me wrong, but anyway, finally, within a week, I got two hires. And my energy level was just going like this. I was just, you know, displeased with my performance. It was horrible. I wasn't pleased with myself. And I was just like, so finally I called somebody. I said, "Hey, I'm Joe the recruiter. We got this position open. I was looking at your resume." She said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Do you have time to talk?" She said, "Oh, yeah, I got time to talk." And she was enthusiastic about it. So believe it or not, I was feeding off of her energy
mm,
at that point. So her energy was contagious for me because I was like on this downhill slope, just not getting anywhere.
mm,
And I know I'm using the opposite end of the spectrum to answer your question, but once I started talking to her and listening to her, she was connecting with me about this job, and she already had a job. She just wanted to do something else, and I called her at the right time.
mm,
And so, hey, listen, I'm going to send you the job announcement. I need you to align your resume with the job announcement and put some more detail in there about, what it is that you want. So I took that, got her salary expectation, shot it off to the hiring manager.
mhm.
And they said, we want to interview this person on the second round. Perfect. I'll set it up, got it set up. Simultaneously, now my energy is up a little bit. I started to become a catalyst now. That
Mm,
energy was sparked for the next person. And I took that energy, what she poured into me, dumped it into the next person. I got two hires that week
mm.
and two bonuses that week. So
That's
my
awesome.
numbers went up just a little bit.
Okay.
So the energy being contagious at this point doesn't just always come from me. Sometimes it has to come from the other individual. And that kind of sparks my enthusiasm a little bit. Like you said about using the analogy of your cell phone battery being out in the middle of nowhere, you got to have a charge. You got to have a little bit of a charge, though, right?
Hmm.
You got
Yes.
to have that little bit of a charge to increase the charge just a little bit more.
So, oh wow. So,
And I think that's what she did for me,
hmm
you know. And again, now check that out. Look what I just did. I put that this conversation back on the other person, what we're talking about, and what she did for me.
hmm
She was my catalyst at that moment. I
absolutely.
needed that.
Yeah. So, Gajan Hedrick is his name.
Mhm.
I've been going to this church for about 16 years, and I started coaching. There's this little league. There's a league called Upward
Mhm.
that's in churches, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So Gajan, tiny little kid, happy feet. Like he'd get the basketball and just start pitter pattering his feet, and we'd be like, Gajan, you can't do that. That's travel. But it was the cutest thing in the world because they're just tiny, tiny kids.
Yeah.
And he would look at with this wild-eyed excitement, like I am so happy to just be on a team, to have the
Mhm.
ball in my hand. I can't believe it. And he just have happy feet. Well, fast forward, Gajan 18, he's 18.
Yeah.
For the last 4, 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years, Gajan's actually been dealing with a certain type of cancer.
Oh,
And
yeah.
our church has been praying for him and following his journey and his trials and stuff like that. Dude, Gajan always had joy. Every time I saw him, he would put everyone else to shame with his joy and energy.
Yeah.
In the process of getting treatment, he'd be gone for a couple months at some medical facility getting some sort of treatment to try to address whatever he was going through. But whenever you saw him, he had joy and this zest for life. It emanated from him, and it was in fact contagious.
Mm.
And we would always talk about Gajan is the physical embodiment of just having joy regardless of the situation. And every time I came across him, he reminded me, and for lack of a better word, imparted or infected me with his joy. He was contagious. He was contagious in interactions. Um, Crazy thing is, so this week, Gajan passed, but everyone remembers him for his joy and energy that he brought to everything. I mean, if there was, I hope they name a room after him in our church. This young man literally embodied defiant energy, defiant optimism, defiant
Oh my God.
positivity every single time.
Mm.
Gagin was amazing. I even talked about it, and so he impacted me and impacted everyone else in the community. So yeah, mine is it's not about me. It's about
Mhm.
how I was so greatly positively impacted, and I think what John Maxwell is asking us to do is to save some energy for the present moment that you're in interacting with people.
Yes.
My wife and I have an agreement. We both work, but we both agreed that we don't want the other one's leftovers.
Oh my God.
Save some energy for this relationship.
Mhm.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's a fair agreement,
I love that.
right? And so at work and in my business, no, you're not going to get 110% because I got to save some for my wife.
Exactly.
I've got to save some energy and focus for my wife because she deserves a percentage of the best of me. So I need to
Mhm.
bring that positive energy or whatever. But yeah, no, both stories about someone else who positively impacted us and gave us juice.
Oh my God. Now, man, there's so much going through my head right now because of what you just said, saving the energy, and not giving your wife somebody else's leftovers
Mm,
and bringing it home. Okay, remember during COVID, we all got sent home, right?
yes.
To work from home.
I
So I was actually working on my doctorate degree then,
have a
which
confession
I didn't
when you get
finish, by
done.
the way, which I didn't finish. But I thought when we got sent home, I was going to have more time to work on it.
Mm,
So the company that I was working with, actually, the workflow increased even more.
mm,
Now, at this point, I'm working in multiple time zones, mind you. Okay,
mm,
East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, Pacific time, Guam, Europe. So in Central Standard Time, I'm working all these time zones. So as a recruiter, you got to have some high energy, right? And not just and then I realized this just ain't for 8 hours anymore. It's a little bit more than that. And I feel myself getting tired and all this. So and I realized, what am I going to do to try and keep this up? I didn't know what to do. So I started thinking, okay, I started looking at some videos. I started doing a little bit of research and everything.
mm,
How am I going to keep my energy level up? Blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, get plenty of rest. Okay. Hydrate, drink more water. I started taking my vitamins at a different time during the day in case I had to be online at 11 o'clock at night. Um, I limited the caffeine a little bit as well. But there were times I was doing deep breathing exercises, changing my workout routine, doing certain things throughout the day, but I had to keep that energy level up when I was talking to people at 3 o'clock in the morning,
mm,
because it was 3 o'clock in the morning our time, but like probably, 6 o'clock in the evening their time or whatever.
mhm.
So I'm just like, it's it. So I had to figure it out. And then I did. But once we were starting to come out of COVID a little bit, and you said something about you didn't want your wife to have the leftovers. That's what happened to me.
Mm,
And it was like when I was done, I was like, honey, I'm tired. I got to get some rest, honey. I just got to take a 40-minute nap or something. She would tell me, hey, dinner's ready. I'll be in there in a minute. 2 hours later, I'm eating dinner.
mm,
My grandson and my wife already ate dinner. So she was. And then I had to scale back. How do I figure this out now to make sure that my wife and my grandson are getting quality time? It was
mhm.
back to the drawing board. And you're kind of beating yourself up a little bit, but I'd love that you put that in perspective for me. Thank you, brother. And I hope, whoever's going to hear that they get that as well,
Yeah.
because they got to run with that. Your family, you're absolutely right, brother. The family should not get the second best. They should
Oh,
get your first best.
mhm.
They should absolutely get your first best, man. I love the way you put that in perspective for us, man.
Yeah,
Thank
your
you.
family is your first team. We tell
Mhm.
people all of this. This is actually a TBA rule. It's a law. I
Yeah.
say this to every group that I teach, and I want all of my TBA Team Builders Academy associates and co-trainers. I want them to say the same thing. Your family is your first team,
Yes.
and your family is your customer.
Um,
We tell people that all the time. Your family is your first team, and your family is your customer. Because many times we will treat them any kind of way, but we will treat our customers with our best behavior, and we'll bring energy to making them happy and pleasing them. And for us, we want to turn all of that best effort and reserved energy and positivity, turn it onto your family. Be the best inward facing person you can be as well, not just outward facing. So that's something that's very, very important. All right, so let's ask an operating question. Where is it? 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 I got it. It's coming. Share. Actually, this is going to be you. I think what we did was discussed mine, the principal discussion. If you see on our outline under instructor activities. So
yeah.
I'm gonna go to the one where it says the icebreaker question, and then we'll wrap up actually because we're at 8:54. We've been doing this almost an hour. Whoa, this has been an incredibly fast hour.
It has, and I was just looking at the time just now. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, man, we're almost done. But
Sheesh.
yeah,
So here's the operating question, the challenge question, right? Share one word that comes to mind when you think of someone you connect with easily and why. I'll repeat that again. Share one word that comes to mind when you think of someone you connect with easily and why.
humor.
Ah, yeah.
Were you expecting that?
No, no, but I would 100% agree.
Okay, here's why. Because and it goes to the authenticity, like you said. People want you said you got to be real. People want your real, authentic self. right? They want that because let's face it, there's times where and I'm guilty of it. We have to put on multiple masks throughout the day. I know you've heard that expression, and I don't like doing it. I kind of want people to see, man, he's authentic. He's got a sense of humor at times. Sometimes I don't like it, but he's still got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
But when I mean what I mean by that is because when you meet somebody for the first time, you want them to let their guard down just a little bit so they can get to know you, crack a joke, about yourself, not at the other person's expense. So let's make
Hmm.
that part clear. Say, oh, something. But at the same time, it's like, have a little bit of a sense of humor, be friendly about it, make fun of yourself.
Right.
So the other person can say, man, that's pretty funny. You mind if I use that? Not at all, brother.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Hmm.
But having that sense of humor so people can let their guard down. Have you ever met a person that just they don't really genuinely smile?
Ugh. Ugh.
I mean, am I right? They're like, yeah, hey, nice to meet you. Hey, how you doing? "Mhm, doing all right.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh man, and you're hoping that your facial expression doesn't like
Right.
show it
Hmm.
because you're like, oh my, what's wrong with this guy? So anyway, I say humor because people look what's going on in the world right now. Everywhere, not just here in the US, everywhere. People just want to put that stuff aside, even just for a brief moment.
Hmm.
And if you can get them to smile genuinely and even laugh, chuckle, or giggle just for a moment, I think you may have brightened their day a little
Mm.
bit. And that's contagious. That's being authentic. And that's being real. I'm not saying, work on your stand-up comic routine,
Hmm.
but just to get them to say, yeah, thanks. You kind of brightened my day for a moment. I needed that.
Right.
Like when I was telling you about the young lady that I interviewed, her enthusiasm was contagious for me, and I was able to take that to the next person. It, it's it's on that same spectrum, I think, for
Mm.
me. So I would say humor.
Love
Uh,
that.
yeah.
I love it. I would say interested. That's the one because I love yours. I actually like yours better than mine. But interested, as long as we are here for this interaction, the ones that I really connect with are the ones who are in it with me, and I know they're focused on this interaction, and
Yes.
they're interested in who is this Yahoo standing in front of me, right? Who is this? Who is this? Who is this guy? And they're interested in my likes or goals or history or whatever, and I'm interested in them. So the ones that I really connect with quickly,
Yeah.
we are both genuinely interested in the other person in front of us and treating it like, wow. So in the Everyone Communicates You Connect class that we teach, we say approach people as if they are a gift that you just got given on Christmas morning, and your job is to unwrap it and discover what's inside. That's And so if they approach me with genuine interest in
Yeah.
what's inside, I'm like, dude, we're gonna be quickly aligned because that's how I want to approach other interactions as well. So I love it. I love it. I love it. Uh, Joe, this has been a very fast hour. This has been unbelievable conversation. Iron sharpening iron, talking about operating questions. One of the how can I be authentic whenever I approach people? How can I give them some energy for the moment? How can I have energy for them in the moment? How can I make them the star of the show
Mhm.
based on something that you talked about? How can I make them the star of the show? And how can I let them know that listen, this how can I approach them with the idea that this is not about me, it's about you? Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. So, any summarizing thoughts or parting thoughts or operating questions that can carry us into next week's conversation?
Yeah, man, I got a few and I'll make it brief, man. But
Yeah,
first of all, thank you for putting this together. Thank you for orchestrating this and having me on, brother. Man, I love your authenticity. I love the way that you and I connect. I am so glad and grateful to God that He put us in the same path, going down the same road, and to help people, add value to them, to be impactful, and to have value added to us as well,
Yeah.
and being poured into, man. Like you said, iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens the countenance of his friend. You
Mm.
definitely did that for me today, brother. And I appreciate you so much, and your family as well, man.
Likewise.
Um, I am looking so forward to next week's discussion because of what you brought out of me today, and the way you poured into me.
Mm.
Uh, I'm not sure if these were the final thoughts you were looking for, brother, but
Perfect.
let me tell you something, man. You are phenomenal in what you do. And I thank God for you, man.
No, I just thank you so much. But likewise, you given me clarity. You given me epiphanies. You asked some challenging questions. You made me really think about the details of connecting, and that's exactly what these conversations are for.
Yes.
Normal people, bring your coffee, bring your Saturday morning favorite shirt, whatever. We're just
Wear
gonna
your
have a real,
pajamas.
yeah. We're just gonna have to.
Hey.
We're gonna have a real conversation where nobody is approaching trying to fake like they're perfect. And we're just
Right.
going to talk about the practice of connecting with others. Like that's going
Oh,
to be the operating.
the
We're gonna
practice
stay in
of
the lane.
connecting with others,
Yeah,
man.
the practice of connecting with others, and I can't wait as this group continues to grow. This
Mm,
first meeting, I think, will set the standard for what we want to bring to each meeting: authenticity, energy, curiosity. So
yeah.
we can continue on with the practice of connection. So, Joe, thank you so much, and until next time, learn and connect, and um, yeah, connect with people and have some stories to share with us in our next meeting.